I think just like pretty objectively, I think Matty's faster than me. So I mean, if I was going up against him, the only thing I can hope for is just I solve consistent, and then maybe he has like higher variance. Like that's like my best case scenario to win, I think.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Plus 3, the only podcast where the host is desperately trying to get a sub 60 average. I'm Matt Rosman, joined by John F. Lee, Manu Singhal, joined once again by Dylan Miller, and today featuring a special guest, Matty Hiroto Inaba. Matty, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I just had a comp yesterday, and I'm excited to talk to you guys.
This is first thing in the morning for you, right?
Yep. Woke up at 6. Came straight here.
that might be one of the worst ways to start a morning ever, joining the Plus 3 podcast.
No, it should be fun. It should be fun.
Dylan, John, Manu, how are you guys doing?
We're chilling. I also woke up and came to Plus 3 podcast.
Yeah, I woke up at noon and then went to
Okay, so we're all just degenerates then. Other than Matty, he woke up at like a normal time.
Dude, I've been up for like 2. This is insane for me to be up before like some of you guys, because I am so horribly like screwed on my sleep schedule. It's terrible. But yeah, kind of continuing from what we've been talking about for what are you laughing about, Manu? What?
Do your bit.
I was just gonna talk about how we're continuing kind of our series of interviews and videos about the newly formed Premier Speedcubing League, founded by Michael Shy, and Dylan and Matty are the two, I guess, highlighted / sponsored athletes here of the PSL. So I guess I just want to start. I just want to ask this as like kind of a fanboy question for both of you. Why are you giving me that look? Dylan, why are you giving me that look? I saw that.
I appreciate you being a fanboy. That's all.
I mean, I did donate $20 just to lose to you in a bullet chess match, but
this is true. Yeah, I think that was sick.
But I kind of, very quickly before we get into the rest of the PSL stuff, I want to ask both of you guys, like, in the event that you guys do compete with each other, like, kind of just give like a little bit of a take on what you think the other guy's X factor is as a solver, and what you kind of have to do to overcome that in your own solving to, win, sets, win rounds.
Dylan, go.
I guess I'll start. I think just like pretty objectively, I think Matty's faster than me. So I mean, if I was going up against him, the only thing I can hope for is just I solve consistent, and then maybe he has like higher variance. Like that's like my best case scenario to win, I think. Is like if I just solve solid. So I mean, if that did happen, I would probably just try to play it a bit safer, and then maybe see if he kind of just doesn't perform as well as he could.
Matty, what about you?
I think Dylan is just as fast as me on a good day, so that would be my thing. Like he got some, his peak is he's really fast when he's doing well. So if he's doing well, he got a good chance to beat me.
So it's not as much like a methods thing; it's more of a kind of a consistency thing. Like who can display more consistency, maybe more consistency under pressure, given the style of events that the PSL is going to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I was also going to say, like, the only reason we're even talking about this in the first place is because it's not like average of 5 where like you just objectively want to do as good as you can, because, there's like there's no downside to just doing as well as you can. I guess that's also true in a head-to-head format also. But because for example, let's say you're going second, what you need to beat the other person, right? Or you have like some data on the other person. Like, that like, okay, well, we're going to get the same set of scrambles and, they have higher variance than I do. So all I need to do is if I like, solve like 5% slower, like I'm basically guaranteed to win on average. And stuff like that, I think is really interesting to think about. I'm wondering how much like a head-to-head format kind of plays into like your guys' mind as well, being involved in head-to-head formats in WTA competitions, online competitions, and stuff like that. How do you think that's gonna like? How do you think the head-to-head environment is gonna feel in real life?
Dylan, you got anything first?
Yeah, I think it puts a lot more pressure on just like each solve, right? Like I don't think I'm the greatest under super high pressure circumstances. But you can kind of in a WCA format, you're just like, well, I'm just trying to do the best for me, and then if I happen to win, then I happen to win. But here it's like you're really confronted with the fact that it's like, yeah, like I have to do as well as I can against this guy in particular, and then just see how I go from there. Um, I don't know. I think potentially there's a lot more like mind games going on because if I don't know if you're in like a traditional WCA like grand final like head to head format, I guess you don't know what anyone else is doing. You don't know how they're solving particularly unless they're like the person solving after you or whatever. Um, so you can kind of just like block out everybody else, but you're a lot more aware of what's going on when it's like a PSL type thing where it's like you're literally just going against them. You know what times they have, and I feel like there's a lot more like context to like how the match is actually going that either makes you more or less nervous if like you're on a bad streak or they're on a good streak or whatever.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is that in a WCA competition you need to get 4 really good solves, and in the PSL you just need to win. So if Matty starts out with a 9, it doesn't matter if you get a 3 or if you get an 8. A win is a win is a win. So has this do you think this is going to adjust your mindset and training in any way going into this competition, maybe focusing on just general consistency and being able to handle pressure versus just formatting on an average of 5? How do you see yourself adjusting leading up to this competition and the day of, mindset wise?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few experiences in like since cubing at home, Monkey League, SSL, and it all just comes down to one solve at a time. And it's the same with WCA too. So I feel like, yeah, I've trained myself to just completely erase from my head what I get, but also when I'm in head-to-head matches, what my opponent gets. So even though I hear the time, I don't remember what he got when I do my solve. So it's really just about one solve at a time.
Yeah, I think for me, I would definitely prioritize just general consistency. I also have really high variance. Like, I don't know. I got a 5.3 average at NAC, and then I also got like a 7 average the next round. So it's like I really kind of go either way. So it's just about like making sure you're making it as hard as possible for the person you're going up against, which kind of means like solve as best as you can, which is kind of always the goal. But I think mainly like in my large sessions, I really prioritize making sure I'm like within a certain range and that I can perform in that range when I'm also really nervous.
And do you think that this new format changes how you look at the competition? Like when you look at a psych sheet for a WCA competition, you might just say, okay, these guys are going to be in a isolated environment. You can kind of know that they're going to be within their own um, global average, but in a head-to-head format, there might be some guys that can thrive more because they can pull out fast singles. They're just clutch guys. So, I mean, have you found yourself looking at psych sheets and maybe looking at people a little bit differently, knowing you're going to have to go head to head versus just versing them in a general pool?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a style of person that can thrive more in a head-to-head format than a WCA style format. Like someone with high variance potentially could do well. Like the there are like other sports like where it's head-to-head stuff where it's like people have like a run where they go on for like one tournament. They have like the run of their lifetime. They're just like at their peak performance and they just happen to do that in that circumstance and they get a really good result. Um, I got and I guess it's just a matter of like, can they do that in a head-to-head style? I think for me, do I look at it any different? For me, I think about it as like if there's anybody that I have like commented on publicly or like said anything like that, where it's like I think because I give my takes on the state of cubing, and then if I have to go against that person, I feel like they have a they have an agenda to kind of take me down. So like, I mean, maybe I don't know. In that sense, maybe I think about it as like maybe this person has like something to prove against if they go against me specifically. So that's the only thing I've really changed.
Yeah, I just try and change as little things as possible because I do pretty well in WCA for my standards, so I just try to do the same in these.
Something I want to talk about is like going back to like the competing environment to some extent. Both you guys were there at All Stars. Both of you were there in All Stars finals. Also, we were there like sitting in the rotunda with like like I think like 3 or 4 levels of people watching. I kind of want you guys to talk about what that experience was like for you and whether or not you think like PSL is going to bring something similar like that to the competing aspect, but also from the spectating aspect.
Yeah, it'll definitely bring that same energy because we'll have those spectators, but it'll be even more focused on us because it's like really head to head, not like average, but just solve like single solve head to head, and that'll be pretty cool because the last time I did that was in SSL, so it'll be good to go back to that format.
Yeah, I think compared to All Stars, like the crowd of All Stars is like non-cubers, right? So they see a solve and they're like, "Oh wow, he solved it pretty good," you know. But it's a lot different when it's like, hopefully we get a decently sized crowd for or for PSL, and then those people I feel like come into the event knowing like, hey, these are like people to watch out for. Like maybe they have favorites or people that they're rooting for or whatever, or like they're a cuber themselves most likely. So um they probably have more context of like, oh, this guy's like kind of not doing too well for his standards, or this guy's doing better than like we thought he would. And I think that makes it a lot more engaging. And I think the crowd will just be hopefully more educated and more involved. Kind of like SSL. I mean, I wasn't there, but from what I saw, like the crowd was super, super into it. All Stars was too, but I think it's just a slightly different way.
Yeah, I actually kind of want to. That leads nicely into something I was going to ask. Was I think, and this is just my personal take. I think one of the important switches, at least this is just theoretical, that the PSL is going to make is that I think it's shifting. It's going to shift cubing from being a results driven thing. And of course, like I mean it in the sense of like what people focus on, because every competition is a result. Everything is results driven, you know. But I think it's going to switch that from being results driven to competitor driven. People are going to be more interested in, you know, the competitors and the storylines and the narratives. And I'm just curious to hear what you guys think about how does the relationship of fans, how is that going to change? Like, will there be like actual, you know, like cubing fans? Like, yeah, you know, you guys have fans and stuff, but like, you know, go, like someone who, you know, people showing up with like, you know, I can't swear on this podcast. People who show up with like big signs, you know, like college game day kind of stuff, right? Do you think it's gonna like change like that, or is the relationship between like fan and competitor and competition not really going to change all that much from what you see in WCA competitions?
It'll definitely get closer. I feel like the fans would know who we are more, but I feel like people's opinions towards me wouldn't change. Like if you like me, then you like me, and if you don't like me, you still don't like me.
Yeah, I generally agree. I think also like you already see that people have favorite cubers. Like if you look at any official PR average from like any notable solver really, like they have people in the comments being like, "Oh my gosh, you're my favorite cuber. I hope you get your like best average ever." Like that already exists. I think if spectating becomes super accessible for people and like, they can attend these PSL events, then I think you'll just see it more IRL. Like I think it already exists to a degree. Like if you go to a WCA comp already, like there's kids coming up to you being like, "Maddie, can you sign my cube? Oh, I'm a big fan," or whatever. So it's like it's already there, but I think definitely the relationship becomes a lot closer when like we said, there's like storylines involved with like PSL events, right? If it's like Maddie's on a crazy run in losers, like I think any fan of his is gonna really connect with that, or like anyone who like didn't really know him before somehow is gonna be like, wow, this guy's really good. So, yeah, I think it definitely changes the aspect of that a little bit.
Yeah, that last bit about like, Matty going good run losers, that was me during SSL.
Yeah.
Like I was like so glad to see Matty ended up getting fourth there and like super super stacked competition. So I think it'll be something similar to that too. One thing I want to ask is like along the same vein, like how do you think things are going to change? Obviously Dilly Millie, full-time content creator, Matty going off to college. How do you think that this is going to like affect your like personal brand image, right? Like I think like most speedcubers like both of you guys. But I'm curious to know like how you think this will affect like sponsors and stuff like that. If having more eyes, how that will affect like your sponsorship chances and what that means for you and your speedcubing career.
Yeah, I think if there's more eyes on you in a spectator friendly environment, you can bring that to a potentially a cubing sponsor and be like, hey, I do this thing and I get a lot of eyes on me, whatever. Or you can even bring that to like a non-cubing sponsor and you can be like, hey, I am somebody who participates in these really forward facing events and I have people get their eyes on me. Like, are you willing to like, hey, give me some money or, get your logo on my shirt? Like I can do that type of stuff. It makes just selling your brand to a sponsor a lot easier. And like we said before, like I think this general format just lends itself more to people engaging more with like your brand as a whole. So anyone who likes you, I think, is gonna be more involved with your results and follow your like career a little bit more. So I think it means a lot for like, especially like I think me, I can bring this to like a non-keeping sponsor hopefully, and like if it does well, then I can maybe get something out of
Mm.
that.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I'm just excited to represent GaNCube because in the US it's kind of mixed, whether people like GAN, Moyu, Chi, but in China it's really GAN dominant. So maybe with my performance we could get more people on the GAN train.
Love it. And as far as you guys go, I know this is new and the competitions haven't happened yet, but do you think that this has kind of influenced a sense of community among top cubers? I mean, do you find yourself maybe having different conversations and developing again just a different sense of community and camaraderie with these other top cubers as you understand that you're going to kind of go on this journey together and um, maybe be put in some uncomfortable situations together?
Yeah, I'm really excited because most of the guys who are in the league I'm good friends with, but I could get closer to Dylan, I could get closer to Luke Garrett, Luke Greiser, so and all those other guys. So like, yeah, I'm just excited to build new friendships, and when we're in that really head-to-head environment, it'll be it'll be fun because like, we're friends, but we're also competing, so it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to compete against somebody when like you don't view them as an enemy or whatever. Like I think most top level solvers like in NA are like pretty chill with each other, so it's a little bit different. It's not so like cutthroat. I mean, obviously you want to like win, but there's just like that mutual respect for the other person of like, yeah, you are very competent at what you do as well. So I think that's really cool. And I don't know, I don't think every top solver like generally agrees with the direction. Like I haven't talked to all of them. I mean, I think some people like WCA format. I think some people like myself are like very forward like on this whole double elim head to head style. So I don't know if everyone's necessarily gotten on board, but hopefully like PSL and along with like other stuff like SSL is a proof of concept that like it can be very good for the whole community, and then especially like the top level solvers, it can still be really cool.
Into it. I just think of John and Manu when I was reading Jules' comment on CF, or like just the but I mean it was interesting to see, like, just as like an aside, it was interesting to see like how the reaction played out and like kind of how different it was, and we talked about this with Chai a little bit. It was interesting to see that like the reaction, like, you know sort of like on YouTube and like on some social media, it's like, it was very, very positive. But then when you get to like CF, where it's like, people who are like a bit more into cubing, there were some people who had a particularly harsh reaction and kind of made some assumptions that like weren't accurate, and like literally mid episode with Michael, mid interview, was just like me asking him like, to correct stuff and stuff like that. I don't know. It was just interesting, like, just think like the opinion of top level solvers, and like, because obviously like you guys are with the PSL. I don't know like if there's really going to be like a point of opposition from the top. I don't know. I can't really answer that because I don't know everyone at the top. I know three of roughly, and Manu doesn't count because Manu does FMC.
I'm not even top 100 anymore. I fell out of top
Oh,
100 this
I'm
weekend.
sorry.
Feels bad.
Um,
I'm actually gonna piggyback on this question a little bit. So one thing that I think was definitely being discussed was like, one thing that's like is different about PSL is a lot of prices are increased now, right? Like we went from like basically $0 spectating fee to $35 spectator fee, right? And then you have a $65 like VIP thing. So I guess one thing I'm interested to hear from you guys is like, A, why should anyone show up to watch this when they can either watch the live stream or just like not show up at all? And then B, what kind of things do you think or like what kind of benefits can people get out of potentially signing up for that VIP pass? Because one of the things in there is like one-on-one like talk sessions and stuff like that. So curious to hear what you guys just think about like the whole ticketing system overall.
so for me, I I think it I have said before, I think cubing needs like kind of a cultural shift. If you want to put on an event, it's gonna cost money. Like that is an unfortunate reality of it, right? Like I think it's very new, and the community has always been very opposed to money. And when you compare PSL to something like your average local, where maybe like some locals you don't even have to pay a fee to go, you attend and whatever. Um, I think it's very jarring for people to see that, and it kind of makes them uncomfortable. Or people are like, "Oh my god, money's coming into cubing. It's gonna change. It's no longer a hobby. It's weird. It's different." And I don't necessarily think it's the same. I think there's a lot of value in the like $60 pass or whatever. It's the same reason why like people go to live events. Why would you go to a concert where you can just watch the YouTube video after? I don't know. I want to be part of like a cultural thing. I want to be a part of people who like the thing I like. Do you go to the sports game every week? Well, I don't know. I like the team. I want to engage with people in my area. It's like it's a very similar idea where just because you can watch it live, I mean, obviously PSL is gonna have a great broadcast. I trust that Speaking TV will do a great job with that. But it's a much different atmosphere when you're there in person. You get to engage a lot more. You get to feel more involved. You're part of this thing that is happening, right? And I think that is a very large value proposition to people. Um, in terms of like the one-on-one talks with cubers or whatever, I think that's mainly for like people who more so like idolize the top level solver. I don't think everyone necessarily does that. There was like some takes in CF of like, why would I talk to Dylan or whatever? I can get his coaching. Like it's sure whatever. Um, but I think just like if you're a newer cuber, you can just hang out and talk to them, or like you just get to engage more. And I think again that's the same thing of like you feel more involved in this like new type of competition or this new league or whatever. I think it just helps you feel more like in touch with the community, and you get to like talk to the top level solvers. I don't know. I think it's really cool through and through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Matty, you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, just similar to Dylan. It's really just about just being in the atmosphere, because it's really cool when it's a close match and people are getting excited, and to be part of that is pretty amazing.
Just to piggyback off that, like imagine I was at Worlds 2023, Solve 5, watching
Mhm.
Yihang. Like everyone in the room knows that Yihang needs to just not get WPA. And then he has the one lockup. Everyone in the room is like, "Oh my god, it's happening! It's happening!" It was like the best. Like that is something you only get when like you watch a buzzer beater in basketball. Like it is actually like such a hype moment, and to be a part of that was like probably one of my favorite cubing moments of all time. So like if you imagine like a head-to-head set, it's like to win the whole PSL, it's like 3-3, solve 7 or whatever. It's like, yeah, if they clutch it out by like 0.02 or something, like that's gonna be a crazy moment. I think it'll be really cool.
I gotta get like a complimentary ticket for all the work that I've done on Speedcubing TV. I gotta get a ticket going here to see this. Yeah,
The media pass.
You're gonna be working the production. You're gonna be working that.
No, I'm gonna be stuck doing graphics again. Ah,
It's fine. You'll make enough money so you can.
well,
you can
it's
support your own event.
speaking of different events, I want to actually ask you guys about this. This kind of a casual thing. The Cubicle is hosting they're doing a thing with Yihang and Tamon in New York, correct? What
Yes.
do you guys make of that? What do you guys think of that? Is that, in response to the PSL, or is that just, something different?
I don't know, Dylan. You can.
I think I don't want to say it's necessarily in response to the PSL. I think that PSL kind of shows that non-traditional WCA stuff can work. And I think there are enough people who think a Yihang Timon match is cool enough to spend money to watch it live for the same reasons I talked about prior. Just like being involved in something, and I don't know how much I can speak on the Yihang Timon thing. The current plan is that like I will be there. Maybe bit of a leak, I guess, but like I'm supposed to be like emceeing the event, kind of like I would be like doing stuff like that. So hopefully that'll be cool. But yeah, I think it's just like not necessarily a response to PSL, but a response to the demand in the Cuban community of like we want to see more stuff like Monkey League. We want more stuff like SSL. We want cultural movements in the community where we don't have to be kind of beholden to the WCA format and what the WCA organization says is cool or official or whatever, or wait for Worlds every 2 years. Like, we can host events right now, and if the top level solvers want to participate, then it will be cool and people will watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the only reason I said it was, potentially in response was just because, like, it is that similar kind of event where, people, and I think it's also a philosophy of, I don't know how I don't know how I can say this without like sounding like a hater, but in the sense of like, people are not gonna show up and pay a lot of money and drive for like a high school game, like a high school basketball game, right? But they will drive and they will show up, if Luka and LeBron are on the court, if Jokic is on the court, if Shea's on the court, it's people. We really got to start like, and we've talked about like having sort of these different levels of competition. But it's like it'd be great if we have stuff, like PSL and SSL, sort of like these super leagues, for lack of a better term. And I think that's the same thing with the Timon Yihang thing. Now, do I think that it's going to be as interesting? Well, more than me being an employee of Speedcubing TV and having to say that it's more interesting because that's our competition. It kind of pushes the boundary. It kind of pushes the needle or the pendulum a little bit too far in the other direction. Just because it's like, what was I gonna say? It's like going so far into the mindset of people paying money to watch like the top solvers do something that it's like, okay, then we're only gonna have the very best do something. I feel like it's too like it kind of goes too far in that direction. I don't know if that was a bad take, judging by the reactions in the call here.
I don't think there is a wrong way to do it. I mean, I think it's exciting the fact that there's just more opportunity. Like what will people like to see? I mean, it's not going to fail. No matter what, there's going to be eyes on it, and people are going to learn and grow. So I mean, this is just another opportunity, and I think that's a cool thing about the PSL is they've openly said they want to learn and grow to adapt to what the community wants, and I'm sure that they're doing the same idea with this Yihang Timon, where they're going to take it, learn, and see what people like and see what people want tweaked, and just continue pushing in that direction. So I think that's what I'm most excited for, is just the opportunity for more of these things to happen and for us to collect data and see what people enjoy.
Yeah, I generally agree. I think the Yang Timon thing, I don't think it goes too far in one direction. It's just like, it's an exhibition match. Like, it's the same thing as if you got, like, I don't know, two top NBA players to go against each other. I think, or like, I don't know, you can think about it as like an all-star game. It's like, NBA in of itself is like a pro circuit, but then you have like the really, really good people, So I think in that way, I think it makes sense. And like, yeah, this is like the first wave of events that we're seeing like this in the West, really. We haven't seen anything like this necessarily, and so like I think, like Chaya said multiple times about the PSL, like he is willing to evolve and learn from it, and like the way it exists now is not going to be the way it exists in the future. And I think the same is true for any other live event from any other company nowadays.
I think the one difference between that and the All-Star game is that you can count on Yihang and Timon giving effort in their performances. This is a very true statement. Hey, they will play defense.
Hopefully they don't get injured.
Cubing injuries.
Can you imagine? Like Young shows up all the way to New York, gets injured, and then suddenly has to like drop out of like the World Championship. There's no way. I'm
Why
thankful
are you trying?
not like that.
Well, Zane,
the only injury.
Remember Zane?
The only injury I know of. Yeah, that was the only thing I was gonna say. That is the only time I think someone has actually gotten injured. Well,
Dude, the script writers here.
Dude, I'm so old. I woke up day after my comp last weekend, and my finger was numb. It was just randomly numb for a day, and then like it was numb until the night. Next day. My finger was numb for like 4 days because I had like a pinched nerve in my neck because my posture was so bad. And then I threw up my back the other day when I was cubing. Like, it's unk status out here.
What do you have like a gamer costume?
Oh, dude, yeah, it's like I'm hunched over. It's getting grim, dude. But
you need the Herman Miller chair, dude.
I do. Please.
What's the meme with the Herman Miller chair?
It's my. I mean, I guess it's just like my ergonomics are bad. So, Dylan Miller, Herman Miller. Send me I need a chair. Cubers use chairs all the time. So like,
Cubers also use cubes all the time.
Unless your name is Chuan Yi, then you don't need a chair.
Wait, does he just stand?
That's what.
Yeah, bro. How tall do you think he is? He's like 3 feet tall.
Like that's actually kind of... Dude.
That's your world champ right there, Rob.
Like this man is standing and doing it. Imagine, like, dude, when Chuan Yi sits down and starts solving, dude. 3-second average. 3-second average. Impossible to beat. Actually, I want to circle back a little bit. We have a lot of highlights to talk about. Like, so many that each of us has something that we can talk about. I want to start, Dylan, by going back to your competition that you did last weekend. Max Park at that competition set the NAR one-handed average of 846, which I believe, that is 6th in the world, which is still crazy to me that like a one-handed NAR is 6th in the world. But I mean, maybe as we get into some of the other things that we're going to talk about, I just want to have y'all keep in mind, like, as maybe Max's dominance in the N-by-Ns starts to get challenged more and more, might we see him start developing like a stronger reputation as an OH solver? I mean, obviously Max can kind of do, everything, well, most everything, but certain developments that have happened over the past 24 hours have kind of called that into question. I don't know who wants to talk about that first, but Timon Kolosinski is on fire.
Yeah, I think before Timon,
Yeah, I think before Timon, let's go to some other movement in the top 10. We're talking 4x4, and in particular in Asia. This is like a really crazy story actually. So there's competition both in China and Korea. And in China, Ru Hangshu, who you all know, got 324 famously ASR single at Asian Champs Finals. He got the ASR 4x4 average. It was 21 something, right? And then later, Sunghyuk Nam, gets the Asian record from him. It's like 2085. And then now, in the second round of the event that was happening in China, Ruhyun gets ASR again, stealing it away from Nam. And I forgot what it was. I want to say it was 2060. Yeah, 2060. So we've just seen like a bunch of movement go back and forth. Both of these guys now have sub 21 averages. I think that makes them both like top 5 in the world now, which is pretty crazy in an event that Max was like really, really far ahead of everyone else until relatively recently, which means that it's all going to stack up well for Worlds coming up soon.
Yeah, and Yihang came out and did Yihang type behavior again. 0.86 2x2 average. Really cool to see because clean timer starts. There's just nothing to really worry about there. And he really clutched up too. It went 0.84, 89, 90, 85, and then he got a 0.77. So really kind of clutched it out there to get best possible average. But personally, my favorite thing was he was popping off. He was excited after every solve, which is you love to see. You know, you don't want someone to sit there and be stoic when they're best in the world. You want to see them be hyped about their performance. So really cool to see Yihang have some emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Dilly, you want to talk about Timofey? Timofey just going crazy?
Yeah, let me just give my boy Timofey his flowers. He did get Megaminx world record average 25:36, which beats LML's average by over a second, like 1.3. LML generally considered the mega goat at this point, but Timofey's been like on his tail for a while now. Timofey is just like super good. He is like TPS kid. He just turns super fast, and then he learned PLL recently, or like he's been using PLL for a bit, and he's just absolutely cooking. Not only that, he got 2339 ER single, which is like less than 0.1 off WR single for Mega. So Timofey almost has like Mega WR for single and average. And then not to mention he got like 32.9 5x5 single, which is like third in the world. He got fourth in the world average, I'm pretty sure as well. Timofey is just like on a heater right now. And hopefully we'll see him do something good in 3x3 as well soon, because he has like sub 5 unofficially, so he's actually that guy.
Absolutely wild. And then the most breaking news of like the last like 6 or 7 hours or whatever. Matty, take it away. Talk about Timon's 4x4 average.
Well, I'm going to start off with his NAC 4x4 performance, if you remember that. That was one of the first times I really saw him just be Timon in 4x4, because we've always known he's good at 3x3 and the big cubes, but in 4x4 he really showed. I mean, he counted an 18 and I was sitting right next to him, and it was pretty cool to watch that. And now he gets WR, and he talks to me about this a lot. He says, out of anything, he thinks he cares more about his results than anyone else, and that's what he attributes to his success. And I feel like that just shows a lot about him, because he's a super determined guy. And yeah, I feel like I'm pretty happy for him to finally get this 4x4, because he's been chasing it for a while and he finally got it.
It's just like seeing, kind of that 4x4 time in addition to the 7x7 time that he posted. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, where does Max kind of go now? Because Dylan, you mentioned this before we started like talking, or started recording rather. Timon, you said Timon does not practice like these bigger cubes, correct? Like, he does not really go hard on these larger cubes, and he's putting up results like this. Like, if you're Max Park, what do you do? If you're anyone, what do you do? You're going against someone who, you're going effectively against like Shaq pretty much. You're going against the guy who parties all night, who, loads himself up on all the food he can eat, and then gets on the court and puts up like 50 points. Like, you can't beat, like, what do? You just, is it just a matter of, outworking, or maybe like, like figuring out Timon's methods, or is it just, are we reaching the beginning of the cooking process for Max Park?
I will come to Max's defense a little bit here. He definitely does not practice as much as he used to either. And I will say that he is kind of a product of like the methods that he uses. Like it's a miracle, honestly, that he's been as good as he is, like using Redux for the longest time. Like, to be fair, the fact that he had 5x5 for as long as he did using Redux is insane. And also it's just like, yeah, he doesn't really prioritize his results as much anymore, at least to my knowledge. Like, he has like his brand, the Felix and Max Cube Camp stuff, and he's more so just like a figure in the community, more so than like necessarily like the guy anymore. And it's hard because like, what does Max practice, right? Like, if people are trying to come for his results like at every which way, it's like, well, it's really hard to practice diligently to make sure that you're preventing losing like 7 different world records, right? So it's like some people can specialize, and then their entire goal is to take down you in one event, and you have like 7 of those people. You know what I mean? So it's a lot harder for him. Unfortunately, I think we are leaning towards the Max like twilight years. Kind of like Braun, in the league. He's 40, but he's still pretty good. You know what I mean? So like he can surprise you any which day if he wants to. So yeah, I think we're seeing maybe the full shift into like a new generation, I would say.
We're entering the Wemby point. Well, actually, I don't know if I can say Timon's Wemby, but considering how long Timon's been around. But yeah, again, just absolutely insane week. Like, I'm glad we actually talked about everything. Just the initial plan of like, oh, we can't talk about Timofey. We had to talk about Timofey, man. That I just want to shout out Timofey, because clearly, like, if we're talking about who has the most potential right now, like beyond like the Chinese cube, like Qishan and Xuanyi, it's Timofey easily. And I will sit here and say, man, maybe we need to make T-shirts for Worlds, but we gotta free Timofey, man. We gotta free him from Russia, man. We need to bring him, like, if Timofey, listen, free my boy, okay? Free him. Timofey can be the EU GOAT. He probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, like Dilly and I were talking about like personality and cubing. Dude, the kid like carries himself. Like he's just so cool. Like it's just fun to watch. So hopefully other kids can also like see what Timofey is able to do, try and emulate it, become fans of him, stuff like that. I know I'm definitely gonna give Timofey a nice handshake at Worlds. And yeah, I think all the storylines, they just all point towards Worlds 2025 is gonna be just absolutely incredible. So if you can't make it out to Seattle, the spectator fee is only like $10. So, you could just show up for 3x3 finals, pay $10, not bad, right? But if you can't make it, you can always watch the live stream. So hope you all will tune in.
Please watch the live stream. But yeah, I think that's going to cover it for, this week's episode here. Dylan, thanks for joining us again. Matty, huge thank you for getting up so early and joining us.
No problem. It was
the
fun.
absolute excitement of this podcast. Good luck to both of you in your future competitions, and especially as the build up to PSL continues. Good luck to both of you there. John, Manu, anything else?
It was great to have you guys on. I mean, like, we talk all the time. Matty, I'm sure we're gonna have another Inside the Mind of Matty Hiroto Inaba at Worlds again. So, but always great to see you guys compete. Yeah, love your thoughts, and yeah, best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and subscribe to SCTV, subscribe to Dylan. Matty, do you have a YouTube channel?
The Cubing Jedi.
Subscribe to the Cubing Jedi. Subscribe to the Cubing Jedi. Watch every video that we make. we are the best content creators on YouTube. Yeah, I'll say it with my chest. Timon, Greiser, nothing. Actually, no, not Greiser. Greiser is probably the best content. Greiser's better content than what we make. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.